You know, you think they'd get it right by now, wouldn't you? So let's welcome the people that you've come to watch this evening. Can you please put your hands together for our new recruits? What did I say about clapping? Officers to be attested, please sit. And now can I ask Mr. Hopkins, our Chief Constable, to say a few words of welcome. Sir.
Thank you, Clive. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the splendid Stockport Town Hall. We're delighted to be back here. It really does add so much to our special ceremony this evening to be here in these wonderful surroundings. And I would just like to welcome you all to what is a very special ceremony. It is a legally binding ceremony, as the oath could not be sworn unless it is in the presence of a magistrate. And I would like to thank our magistrate this evening, Mr. Stephen Payne, who regularly helps run these ceremonies for us. I'm delighted also that we're joined by the Mayor of Stockport, Walter Brett, here this evening. And Walter, thank you so much for hosting us here. We also have with us Charles Nevin, who is our force chaplain, and a number of my senior colleagues representing our territorial areas and some of our departments. And we also have the Chief Officer of our Special Constabulary with us here this evening, which is fantastic, as a number of our new colleagues have previously been Special Constables. So tonight, our officers swear an oath to be impartial and fair to everyone that they deal with, and to serve Her Majesty the Queen. To my new colleagues, you're taking an oath this evening that gives you unique powers over fellow citizens, to take away their liberty and, where necessary, use force. With this unique power comes unique responsibility and unique levels of scrutiny. Standing before your peers, families, and members of this community, swearing the oath is something that is very powerful and is your commitment to each other and to the public of Greater Manchester that you are dedicating yourself to a life of public service and the highest standards of integrity. It means that you have to set the highest standards for yourself, both in your personal and your professional lives. Now, you've joined the police service at a time where it is really complex and we face many, many significant challenges. Far more so and far more complex and challenging a role than the one I joined in January 1989. At that time, there was no DNA technology. No one had heard of a mobile phone, let alone 24-hour news, or even thought of the internet. And now our new colleagues will find themselves dealing with crimes committed in cyberspace, chasing after money that doesn't actually physically exist, or dealing with victims that are from very different parts of the world. The scrutiny that you face in relation to your actions is significant. And in many ways, this is what you would expect given the unique powers you hold over fellow citizens. You're filmed constantly, and anything you do can be posted on Facebook or Twitter and be around the world in minutes. Whatever journey you've taken in joining GMP, you're all part of our ambition to build the most effective team with the most talented people we can attract from our diverse communities right across Greater Manchester. Tonight is a significant moment in your police career and one you will always remember. And I just want to take the opportunity to remind you why policing is so important to society and what should drive you every day. We are all privileged to live in a democratic society. And one of the fundamental pillars of a democracy is that citizens should be safe both from physical harm, but also from discrimination. And Greater Manchester's police purpose is to protect society and to help keep people safe. And this is your purpose every single day. You should do your utmost to carry out this purpose to the best of your ability. But it doesn't stop there. I want you to go beyond that purpose. You, as our new recruits, our newest colleagues, have a responsibility to improve the service that Greater Manchester Police provides each and every day. So when you finally complete your service, you should be able to look back and say, I've done everything I can to leave GMP in a better place than when I started on the 2nd of January 2019. To put it simply, you are the future of policing. Please don't waste that opportunity. So why do we hold our ceremony here in a public building and not in one of our police buildings? It's because I want you to swear your oath in a more public setting. I wanted to reinforce with you that you are here to serve the communities of Greater Manchester. We are here to keep places like Stockport, Stockport Town Hall, and all the people that live and work here safe. In my opinion, you have joined one of the best police services in the UK. I accept I am slightly biased as the Chief Constable, but nevertheless, I still think that you have joined one of the best police services in the UK. It's certainly one of the most challenging and one that will test your strength of character and your intellect regularly. And never has this been more so than perhaps over the last 18 to 20 months, when we faced the largest terrorist attack the country has seen since 7/7, numerous extremist protests, murders, and community events that have seen the force need more mutual aid than ever before. And as a police officer, you never know from one day to the next what you will face. Last year, we saw a fellow student officer from Rochdale jump into a river to save a man. One of our sergeants was badly assaulted, arresting a man with a sword. That was even after tasering him 3 times to try and subdue him. And only last night, officers were dealing with a mother and her 2 very young children who were found dead in a house in Bolton. You have to maintain your professionalism and your courage at all times. And I'm sure, given the very tough selection process you've all been through, you will rise to this challenge. What you can rely on, though, is that GMP is a team, and teams look after each other. So when you need help, guidance, or a shoulder to cry on, there will be somebody there to support you. I'll say a few more words at the end of this evening's ceremony, but for now, I just wanted to say to you, have a fantastic career and be proud, be very proud of being a Greater Manchester police officer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The new officers tonight will be swearing an oath to Her Majesty the Queen. Can I therefore ask you to turn to page 3 in your booklet and stand to sing the national anthem. God save our gracious Queen, long live our noble Queen. God save the Queen. Send her victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us. God save the Queen. Thank you. Please be seated. Our new constables are now going to take their oath. Officers to be attested, please stand. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will well and truly serve the Queen in the office of Constable with fairness, integrity, diligence, and impartiality, upholding fundamental human rights, and according equal respect to all people, and that I will, to the best of my power, cause the peace to be kept and preserved, and prevent all offences against people and property, and that while I continue to hold the said office, I will, to the best of my skill and knowledge, discharge all the duties thereof, faithfully, according to law. Thank you. Please lower your hand and be seated. Can I now ask our magistrate to take his rightful place on the stage? I'm now going to invite our new officers to sign their memorandums of appointment in front of the magistrate. Can the following officers please come forward? Scott Allender, Philip Ashburn, Christopher Astley, Hayley Bailey, Amy Barry, Rachel Battersby, Thomas Bayliss, Philip Beaver, Grace Bellavia, and Daniel Betts. So I did say earlier on that I'd be telling you something of the journey that the new recruits have taken since joining GMP. And I've jotted down a few things that you might be interested in, which essentially are explaining just that. So your attestee this evening is one of 500 new officers that Greater Manchester Police are taking on this year. Recruitment has been from both within the organisation but also externally, and all bring vital and varied skills to their role as an officer. 16 of the new recruits have been special constables. 15 have been police community support officers. 14 have been police staff. 36 of the officers have a degree, and 7 of them are ex-military. Several of them are actually following in relatives' footsteps in joining the police family. And most have done regular voluntary or charity work within their communities. We have a hairdresser, an estate agent, and 2 teachers who have changed their career path for policing. We also welcome officers with sporting talents such as jiu-jitsu, Thai boxing, ballet, and even a semi-professional pool player. And all of them have decided that policing was for them. Can the following officers please come forward? Lewis Brown, Helena Bulcock, Christian Burridge, Khadiji Jothia, Jordan Connor, Sonia Coombs, Anthony Cronshaw, Danielle Crothers, Jake Davis, and Georgina Denby.
Thank you.
A few more facts and figures for you, ladies and gentlemen. Greater Manchester Police is one of the biggest police forces in the country, leaving aside, of course, the Metropolitan Police Force. We currently have 6,182 regular officers, 350 special constabulary officers, 3,686 police staff, plus 644 police community support officers, 95 volunteers, and 387 police cadets, some of whom you may already have seen this evening, who are stood at the back. Last year, our force dealt with around 33,000 burglaries, 17,000 shoplifting offences, 30,000 vehicle offences, 9,000 sexual offences, 37,000 domestic abuse incidents, 48,000 public order offences, 8,000 hate crime offences, and 79 homicides. And that just scratches the surface of what Greater Manchester Police deal with. We deal with thousands of other crimes, as well as neighbourhood and community issues. Our aim is, of course, to forge strong links with those communities and our partner agencies, working together to reduce crime and to help improve people's lives. Can the following officers please come forward? Faye Ditchfield, Benjamin Dowson, Jamie Ellison, Gary Fenwick, Nathan Fitzpatrick, Marie Floysburn Arneson, Dean Fozzard, Vanessa Gilbert, Amy Goff, and Olivia Hall. So I expect you want to know what your new officer is going to be, or how they're going to be able to deal with all of those incidents that I've just mentioned. Well, the first thing that you need to know that none of the officers will be on their own. Yes, they may go out on independent patrol on their own sometimes, but we do act as a team. We are Team GMP. We are a family and we pull together and support each other. And we start that on day one of training and continue every day thereafter. The student officers will be allocated a student officer, assessor and development coordinator, who's responsible for their training, support and development for their time in the workplace in the first 2 years. As many of you will be aware, the initial training that they have embarked on is 20 weeks in duration. And then the officers continue to be monitored and developed during the first 2 years, which is known as the probationary period. I think it's probably fair to say that they'll continue to learn all the time that they're in the job due to the constant changes in relation to policy, procedure, legislation. And their professional development will play a key part in this. In the first few weeks of training, your officers will have an introduction to Greater Manchester Police, and I've already seen many guest speakers. They'll be taught communication skills and learn about human rights, the code of ethics, and equality issues. Now, can the following officers please come forward? Jonathan Hardy, Jordan Harrison, Mark Harrison, Alexander Haskell, Hayden Healy, Naomi Holland, Rosalind Holt, Adam Hudson, Husnain Hussain, and Mohammed Hussain. So the students have already started their diploma in policing, and that can take up to 2 years to complete. The officers here tonight are being warranted with their policing powers. This is the legal part of the ceremony, and it's a major step, because from this point on, it means they would be able to take away someone's liberty by arresting them. They could also stop and search suspects, force entry into people's premises, and also seize people's property. They'll soon be learning about the correct use of those arrests and cautions and things like significant comments and statements and searching people after arrest. Later in the course, they'll move to an area training base where they'll receive further in-depth learning, including the searching of vehicles, premises and land, as well as statement writing. They'll be taught, amongst other things, crime prevention, how to deal appropriately with victims and witnesses, how to gather and use evidence, how community policing works, how to acquire and use CCTV evidence, how to respond appropriately to incidents, how to identify and deal with hate crimes, how restorative justice works, and most importantly, how to keep people safe and play their part in helping to improve people's lives. Can the following officers please come forward? Mairead Hussey, Catherine Jagler, Grant Jenkinson, Nikolai Jefferson, Sean Johnson, Alistair Jones, Claire Jones, Nicola Jones, Zahid Kramat, and Julia Kelly. So as I said previously, each of the students has a period of 2 years in which to first of all complete their initial training and then develop into their new role. The majority of those first 20 weeks is based at Sedgley Park and then at one of our area training bases. And there are quite a few classroom inputs, but there are also a variety of other learning methods that we use, including self-study, project work and assignments. We also use practical scenarios which are designed to test their decision-making and problem-solving skills. The officers then will then leave us at the end of 20 weeks and go to their respective districts and boroughs for 10 weeks in company with a tutor constable who's responsible for ensuring that they're ready for independent patrol. Then after 10 weeks on their boroughs, experiencing working on the streets, they'll come back to the training centre to work on a fictitious criminal case from start to finish. They'll take part in an exercise which gives them the opportunity to produce a prosecution file. They gather evidence, compile statements, and other necessary documentation before submitting the file for checking. The case is then taken to court, and on occasions we enlist Manchester University law students to assist us with the cross-examinations of each and every one of the students. We also have our magistrates that sit on the benches around Greater Manchester. Quite a number of them also kindly volunteer to help us out to be a sitting magistrate for the day. The aim, of course, is to make it as real as possible. We enjoy it immensely, particularly when they're being cross-examined. But it's an invaluable learning experience for the student. Now, can the following officers please come forward? Marlena Carr, David Lawrence, Peter Lewis, Connor Light, Daniel McClellan, Glenn McFadden, Lucy McKelvey, Kieran McLaughlin, James McMullen, and Megan Miller. So your officer will begin work once they leave us on a local policing team on their respective boroughs. They'll respond to incidents and also get involved in problem solving and working with partner agencies and the community to tackle repeat problems. Offences like antisocial behaviour and shoplifting are committed by a tiny percentage of the population of these communities, many of whom are affected by drug or alcohol issues. Working effectively and efficiently with those other agencies is designed to help everyone involved. So in a nutshell, the role of your officer will be to deal effectively with the 3 V's: the vulnerable, the victims, and the villains. And they'll need to do so in quite difficult and challenging circumstances. So they'll need to stay positive and treat every person they meet with dignity and respect. Now, can the following officers please come forward? Helen Miller, Kai Murray, Ryan Myatt, Adam Nawaz, Matthew Nightingale, Christopher Nolan, Sadaf Noreen, Catherine Olbury, Thomas Pamphlet, and Jack Penrice. So the types of things that our officers deal with are quite varied and could quite possibly change on a daily basis. This is what happened on one particular 24-hour period from 7 a.m. Friday morning to 7 a.m. Saturday morning in the city centre. It's worth keeping in mind, of course, that this snapshot covers just 2.2 square miles. There were 143 calls to the police in total. 30 of those were about antisocial behaviour. 16 related to violence, 10 related to alcohol. 2 were concerned for adult calls about rough sleepers and beggars. In that 24-hour period, 49 crimes were committed and 9 arrests were made. And of course, I mentioned earlier on about the sheer volume of some of the offences and incidents that our officers deal with. And it is not inconceivable for an officer to go to 2 or 3 domestic violence incidents in one tour of duty. What they need to keep in mind, of course, is that although the incidents are the same incident for our recording purposes, is that at every incident there is a person or people, and they need to bear that in mind and deal with those circumstances and those people appropriately for every single incident. Can the following officers please come forward? Brian Pepperell Brown, Dylan Powell, Kirsty Quinn, Bethany Radatz, Ben Reed, Jessica Reed, Matthew Riccio, Neil Rigby, Adam Rose, and James Seaborn. So your officers have already spent some time on their particular home boroughs. In fact, they were there last week, meeting their new teams and getting to know some of the key people in the communities that they will be serving. Community policing is, of course, increasingly at the heart of what we do, and you may have read stories in the newspapers about the kind actions of some of our officers. For example, PC Stu Ockwell, who found 2 homeless men living under a bridge by the motorway services. He arranged for food to be donated and organised an appointment to help arrange more permanent accommodation. On another occasion, he popped into an elderly couple's home and had a cup of tea and a chat with them after they'd phoned the police to say they were lonely. Whilst these instances aren't exactly within the defined role of an officer, it gives an indication of the world we live in and the problems that some people in our communities are facing. Can the following officers please come forward? Zachary Seaborn, Jack Shaw, Matthew Sherrington, Luke Sibiter, Daniel Smout, Shire Sultan, Daniel Tang, Luke Trevelyan, Royal Ulla, and Jessica Voiles. So I mentioned earlier, ladies and gentlemen, about the recruiting numbers. I said that the officers here tonight were one group of 500 that we were taking in this financial year. And we've been recruiting on average 500 new recruits now for the past, well, just over 2.5 years. The first few groups that were attested in the way you see this evening have passed through their probationary period and they've completed their policing diploma. At this year's Greater Manchester Police Stars Awards, our annual awards ceremony, one of our new recruits, Catherine Greenwood, won an award for first aid, attending a call where the victim had been stabbed over 14 times. The most serious wound was to her jugular vein. Catherine managed to stem the bleeding, kept her calm, and saved the woman's life. Another new recruit, James Booth, won the Top Student Officer Award. James is now a valued member of the response policing team in Wigan. He's an officer who can be relied upon by both peers and supervisors, consistent in providing an excellent service to the public and his colleagues within Greater Manchester Police. Now, can the following officers please come forward? Heen Q. Way, Gary Walden, Alex Walker, Thomas Walker, Philippa Warburton, Amy Weaver, Emma Louise Wigglesworth, Jessica Wilkinson, Moya Wilson, and Larissa Wright. So, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, my officer is special. My officer will rise to the top of the tree and take over for Mr. Hopkins as Chief Constable. Well, you never know. One of these officers here tonight, maybe yours, might just do that. They will, of course, need to work extremely hard, and they would have to be promoted through the current 9 ranks. And those ranks are Constable, Sergeant, Inspector, Chief Inspector, Superintendent, Chief Superintendent, Assistant Chief Constable, Deputy Chief Constable. And then, if they do work extremely hard and have an element of luck perhaps, and they're as special as you think they are, then maybe your officer might just get to be the next Chief Constable of Greater Manchester Police. I'd now like to invite the Chief Constable, Ian Hopkins, to close tonight's proceedings. Sir.
Welcome to the new Chief Constable. So, just as all of my colleagues in front of me policing career is starting, Clive's policing career is coming to an end, as he will have served with Greater Manchester Police for 30 years on the 13th of February this year, and is going to be retiring. I don't know why he's chosen to retire. Why would you want to leave our organisation, apart from his pension and all of those sorts of things? I've no idea. But Clive has been really instrumental over the last 10 years in the work that he's done in the training school in Sedgley, supporting hundreds of new officers coming through our programme. And we know that he's run every induction course for new officers for that last 10 years. And previously in his career, he's served as a detective, as a custody sergeant and a patrol sergeant. So bringing all of that experience to bear to help not only the new recruits that we have here with us this evening, but many that have gone before him. So I didn't want to let this evening pass without just saying a few words about Clive and to congratulate him on his service. And his colleagues at Sedgley Park, they get an official retirement certificate from me, but they've done their own version of it, which I've signed for him, with his warrant card from when he first joined. So there's a lovely picture of Clive on here looking no younger than he does now. Clive, many congratulations. So what a fantastic ceremony, and it's so wonderful to receive our new recruits up on the stage and to be able to see them sign their oath and to be able to have a word with them whilst we're having the photograph taken. And I think the one thing that shone through with all of them, they're all extremely proud of the achievement that they've done in becoming a police officer with Greater Manchester Police, and they're all looking forward rather excitedly to their new career and their work that they're going to go and do out on their divisions. I would just like to thank a few of my other colleagues, particularly the trainers, many of whom are here at the side and at the back, who work tirelessly to make sure that our new recruits get the best start that they possibly can and equip them for the role when they go out onto their territorial division to start actually interacting with the public. They do a fabulous job in looking after all of them, and I very much appreciate all of the work that they all do. We also have a very small awards team in Wendy and Zoe, and our force photographer Chris, who's here tonight. Without the three of them, this evening just would not be possible. It's getting 100 new recruits here, getting all of the families here, getting all of us here, making it all happen. It takes a lot of work, and I really appreciate everything that they do. But I wanted to thank all of you, because no doubt if you're sat in the audience, you're either a family member, a partner, a friend, or somebody that's supported one of our new colleagues on their journey to joining Greater Manchester Police. And none of us could be the best police officer that we can be without that support that we get from our families. It is, on occasions, a very challenging, a very difficult, a very emotional, very upsetting career. And we come home to people like yourselves, and we need your support. And that support might just be to listen, to say nothing, just to listen, or to just be there and put an arm around somebody. It's also a hugely rewarding career where they get to make significant differences to people in our communities, to people's lives. And when they come home and they're really buzzing, they'll want to celebrate that with you, and they'll want to share all their news with you. So get used to them not coming home when they said they're going to come home, missing important family birthdays, anniversaries, dinners, etc., coming home really full of beans, or coming home really miserable. And if you can cope with all of that, you'll be a great support to them as they go through their career. But you also become part of our GMP police family. And you know, on rare occasions, colleagues' families need support because something might have gone wrong or something might have happened to one of them. And we're there to support you as well. And there are plenty of mechanisms within the force that offer support to your loved ones, but also to wider family if it's needed. I mentioned Charles Nevin, the force chaplain, earlier. We have a number of force chaplains across many denominations that support people with faith or without faith. That's but one part of our mechanism of supporting our colleagues. We also clearly have occupational health, and we have trained counsellors. The Police Federation here in Greater Manchester offers fantastic support as well. So there's an enormous amount of support for them whenever that need may arise. I sort of touched on it in my opening address about how policing has changed, and it will continue to change. The threats that we face now, many of them we would have not thought of 10 years ago, when we're rescuing people from our streets that are being held as slaves. Who would have thought 10 years ago that that was happening in our communities, that people were being held against their will, paid a pittance or nothing at all, forced to carry out menial tasks so that services can be provided? Who would have thought, as I said earlier, that we spend more time dealing with crime in cyberspace than we perhaps do with shoplifters these days? And those threats will continue to change. And my new officers, are part of that changing nature of policing. And when I met them at Sedgley Park on the 3rd of January, I said to them, one of the things they have to continually do is be prepared to change, be prepared to adapt, to move forward, to be thinking about the future, be part of that future. And when you've been a police officer for many years, you sort of always hark back to how morale was always brilliant, 10 or 15 years ago, and policing's changed and it's no good anymore. My advice is don't listen to them, because it will continue to change. They've had an experience at that particular moment in time. Your experience in the police service is what you make of it. The enthusiasm, the energy, the joy that you bring to your role is about you as individuals. Don't live your career through the experience of others that have gone before you. And I'm just going to end by saying this. Policing does give you the opportunity to do something very, very special. And that's to make a difference to our fellow citizens' lives. Not everybody in their chosen career gets to do something that special. So please treasure that opportunity, make a difference, whilst being proud of representing Greater Manchester Police. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Well, that concludes the attestation ceremony for this evening, and I'm sure you'd like to congratulate each and every one of our new recruits. So let's give them one last round of applause.